Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It's Friday the 24th of January and I just have to say as a disclaimer, this is a video only for educational purposes only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever intended on during this. It's purely to show you how you can use or apply technical analysis to your trading or investing using real life examples. Meta. We'll start with Meta today, or used to be called Facebook, pushed to almost new all-time high, very close to, and I think we will see that here in the next couple of days. It will push higher. We have RSI back above 60 threshold, or was already in positive sentiment. Here on the weekly, we can see that the RSI is breaking above the upper falling trend line. If it closes above, then there will still be divergence, but it is a strong signal that it breaks above its falling trend line there, despite showing really a strong trend exhaustion. So it is pushing higher, and I think we could push higher towards 650, possibly higher here on Meta. Also Microsoft very close to, not as close as Meta was, but it is getting closer to. We can see the peak is over here around 468.35. Still a little bit of way to go, but RSI back above 60 threshold. The price above the cloud area. And here on the weekly, well, yes, there was divergence on the RSI, but if RSI is breaking back above 60 threshold and back above the falling trend line here, then we are likely to see new higher highs. So very bullish signal also if it takes out the peak here at 456.17, these peaks here from back in December. Moving on to S&P 500, let's zoom in on it here. We can see it pushed to new all-time highs, taking out the previous peak here back in from December, and it's set to push higher towards 6,225. RSI positive, and for now it seems very strong push at the moment. We are above the cloud, moving averages are all rising, and it seems fairly strong indication to move to 62.25. Also here Nasdaq pushing higher, trading around the 786 retracement here, but all broken above it. I think we'll see it tested in our all-time highs here, 22,133. Could be today, could be early next week. RSI back above 60 threshold, but it was never in negative sentiment. It was never below 40. So likely push higher here in the coming weeks. To really demolish this, I mean, it needs to take out 20,538. The Dow Jones index also pushing higher here, back above the cloud. RSI back above 60 thresholds, been like that for a couple of days. I think it is likely to see it testing previous all-time highs just above 45,000 and also taking it out. European markets also higher, new all-time high close here on the EUROSTOXX. We are a little bit stressed here on short term. You can see RSI is almost up at 75, so we are a little bit stressed at the moment. We could see a minor correction, but the uptrend is fairly strong, and if we're looking at weekly chart, we can also see, I mean, it's really strong after breaking above this falling trend line here, making new highs. So I think we will see higher levels on EUROSTOXX 50, maybe after correction, a minor correction that could take it down to around 5,100, maybe not even so much. But then I think we'll see it pushing higher towards 5,300. Pre-market, we are on unchanged. DAX also pushed higher, and we can see that it actually reached the 200% of this correction here. I actually reached that smack bang on there yesterday. Also a bit stressed here. You can see the RSI almost up to 80, and we haven't seen that in a very long time, as we can see. I think we will see a correction kicking in that could take it down to around 21,000, maybe a little bit lower. Could even test the lower rising trend line there, maybe because interest rates are rising, as we're going to talk about at the end of this video. But still, we are in a bullish trend, no divergence, indicating likely higher levels. Moving on to FX and Eurodollar. Eurodollar currently testing a 104.60 resistance here, and the RSI testing a 60 threshold. If it does close above, and if euro dollar closing above 104.60, well, then it could push higher, maybe even up to around 106 and 106.30, where we have another strong resistance, where we also have the 100 moving average coming down. We have the upper part of the cloud. So really at a crossroad here, and at the moment we are spiking above a little bit, but let's see where it ends today, and let's see where the RSI will end. Will it end above a 60 threshold or not? If it being rejected, well, then it could slide back lower here in going into next week. So really key to watch out here today. Cable or sterling dollar is also pushing higher now. It's finally broken above its falling trend line there, likely to push higher, and I actually think it will move higher towards 125, maybe even 125.40, which is the 61.8 retracement of this downtrend here, and where we have the 55 moving average coming down, giving it a little bit of pressure there. RSI is still negative, and it needs to break back above 60 threshold to change that indication. I don't think it will happen. We can still see cable spiking up to that, and then I think we'll see it sitting back, because we are in a bearish trend also medium term. So it is an expected correction, but the question is how big will it be. Euro sterling, well, still in this range area around here, 84.5, below the resistance area here at 84.5. 84.60, 84.65. Still potential to a correction down to 84, possibly lower, but we are in a bullish trend, and if it takes out the peak here from the other day at 84.75, then I think we'll see it pushing higher towards 85.5. Dollar yen, once again testing the 55 moving average and the 38.2 retracement at 154.97, spiked a little bit below. If it really takes out these lows here we see here from the past few days, well, then we could see a push down to the 61.8 retracement, and the 200 moving average is just around 152.5, 152.55, and that could be interesting. Will the RSI close below 40 threshold or not? If it does, well, then it is indicating even lower levels on dollar yen. If it can bounce back and move back above this peak up here at 156.75, then it could resume uptrend. So it really also on a knife edge here at the moment. Euro yen here, on the other hand, is hovering around the 162.90 resistance, around 163, a little bit above that, and tucked in here also between the 55 and 100 moving average. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, but it is fragile. We are above the cloud, so it is key. If it starts sliding back lower, it could test this support here again, 159.80. If it takes that out, well, then we're looking at 158 and possibly lower. But it really needs to get really a push above here. I know it's spiked above a couple times, but can't really get up. But there's strong resistance up here at 164.90. Aussie yen, well, it's more or less sideways, but in a negative sentiment, as we can see here on the RSI, still negative sentiment. We are below the 55 moving average, declining. We are not above the cloud just yet. If it does push back above the cloud and back above this trend line like here, well, then we could see it resuming uptrend. For now, it is still a correction in a slightly bearish move. Sterling yen then bounced from the support here at 189.55. Got rejected here at the 100 moving average and the 50%, which is unusual. Not normally, you don't see it on 50%. You usually see it 61.8% at the downtrend. But it could still, spike up to that. But we are in a bearish trend and bearish sentiment, negative sentiment on the RSI. Aussie dollar, bouncing Aussie dollar also, I've seen here, after it took out the falling trend line there. There was potential up to, and we are very close to that now at the 38.2 retracement at 63.45. Some strong resistance here. You can also see the RSI is testing the 60 threshold, so that it will be key here. Will it close above the 60 threshold or not? And will it close above this this resistance area here and the 55 moving coming down. So that's a very strong resistance, but if it can close back above it, then there's actually potential up to around 64.75. That could be a bit of a struggle. So also key levels there on Aussie dollar, a bit like we have seen also in euro dollar at the moment. Dollar Canada still in this broad sideways range here that needs to break out. It's been very volatile. It dipped a little bit below, but we needed a proper break to see it lower and a proper break higher. So I will stay on the sideline a little bit just to wait and see what's going on. Sterling Canada bouncing, continue. It spiked up to the 61.8 retracement, 178. Now it's trying to, once again, if it takes it out, well, then we are likely to see it push up to 179. If it's being rejected once again, then it could be caught in this range here around the 177. So I will stay on the sideline a little bit and wait for potential move. If it starts moving back below the 176 and a half area in this region here, then I think we'll see it sliding lower. And there is negative sentiment, there's no divergence, so it's not likely to happen. So keep an eye on what's going on here at 178. EURUSD is breaking as we speak above the 94.50 level. Now it's more with a conviction it's likely to push up to a 95 level here and the 200 moving average. I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually spiked above it. Positive sentiment, no divergence on the RSI is indicating a real push, so it could actually push higher. And if we are looking at the weekly chart just very quickly, we can see what's going on. It is actually pushing higher here, and not the strongest resistance at 95, but there is some sort of resistance, and I expect a little bit of setback. Then we could see another push on the dollar Swiss. Excuse me. On the dollar Swiss, correction is still kicking in here, or it is ongoing, and I actually think we'll see the 90s but 22, 90s but 20 support being tested, and the 38.2 retracement. If it moves back below, we could see it push down to the 55 moving average, maybe all the way down to the 61.8 retracement of this uptrend here at 89.10 area, 89.15. Could be tested before a bounce. The RSI has showed divergence for quite some time. You see that the peaks here have been declining where the market moved higher, so it needs to be traded out. So it would be interesting. Keep an eye on what's going on here. If when or if RSI is hitting 40, will it break below or will it bounce off? Dollar index still in a correction phase. Also now it's testing the support here at 107.55. I think we'll see it spiking down. It's very close to spiking down to the 61.8 retracement at 107.16. I think we'll see that, and we'll see the RSI testing the 40 threshold. Key will be will it close below or not, and will it close below the 107.18, 15 around here. And if it does close below, well, then we could see a test of the next support at 106.39. Gold pushing higher and has now reached the 38.2 projection of the entire top to bottom of the triangle pattern here, and it also very close to 138.2 projection of the last correction here that pushed it higher. So just around 27.75. I think it will push higher, 27.80 at least, and I think we'll also break higher towards 2800, getting close to the all-time highs up here, and I think we'll take it out either today or maybe early next week. Of course, there will be setbacks, but there's no divergence on the RSI, indicating likely higher levels for gold. Silver bouncing off the lower rising trend line and the 200 moving average coming up here. So it needs to take out the 31 resistance area here, and RSI needs to close above 60 threshold to really push higher. And if it does, well, then we are likely to see it push towards a 32 and these peak areas here around 32.25. On copper, massive move in copper yesterday after spiking lower to the 50% of this uptrend here. A little bit unusual, it hits 50% in general, but I have seen it a couple of times with copper. It's not acting that normal. However, we are pushed back now above the cloud. We are back above the cloud and above the 200 moving average as a peak. RSI back above 60 threshold. There's no divergence on the here, so indicating likely higher levels. I think we will see copper pushing higher in the coming days and weeks. And if we also add Fibonacci to this little correction here, we can see that it's currently at the 61.8 of the sell-off, and it's projecting higher. And I think we'll see it taking out 450 in a week or so. Crude oil is still in a correction phase, currently around 50% of the uptrend right here. And then you ask, why didn't I take here? Well, because there's this this one here is actually a more clean straight up trend here. We had a little bit of correction, so I think it's more wise to use this, but there's no golden rule really. We could still slide lower to the 73 area, where we have some strong support. You see there's strong support in this area here. But what we can also sometimes, it's actually the upper part of a correction area. You can see here. So this, we have a little bit of consolidation area here. So there's strong support in this area here, and then I think we will bounce back up again. And if it moves back above 76, then I think we'll see uptrend resuming. On Brent crude oil, we are more or less the same picture, almost down to 50%. We have this consolidation area here. There is risk down to the 61.8 and at $76 here before we could bounce. But positive sentiment, no divergence, indicating that we are likely to see crude oil bouncing after this correction. On Dutch TTF gas, well, haven't done much the past few days. If it takes out the PCAD 51, well, then there is potential higher towards 55, 56, as we talked about so many times. Henry Hub, US nat gas, still in this sideways range here, but what we can do, it seems like we have a fairly strong rising trend line here that it's holding on to. So as long as we stay above that rising trend line, we are in a bullish trend, as we can see here. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and higher low. So if it can take out the peak here at 437, well, then it will continue higher towards 450 and $5. US 10-year Treasury yields has bounced off. It didn't get all the way down to the 450 level. Now it's bouncing, and I think it will start resuming uptrend. If it takes out the peak from yesterday at 466 and a change, then I think we'll see it pushing higher towards a previous peak here at 480, 481. Positive sentiment on the RSI. There's no divergence at all. So if it's pushing higher, and if we get RSI back above 60 threshold, then it will confirm that we are pushing higher on a new likely push towards taking out this peak here at 480. The 2 year a little bit more muted around the 200 moving average that is declining, but also positive sentiment and no divergence, indicating we're likely to see a push. And I think we'll see it push towards 450 possibly. We can see higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, and higher lows, and it could push higher here in the coming days. Moving on to the Euro 10-year yields. Euro 10-year yield that also has bounced here the past few days from 50%, which is also a little bit unusual. It didn't get all the way to 61.8, which I actually expected, but it didn't get down there. And now it seems to resuming uptrend. Positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence, indicating we are likely to see it pushing higher. And I think in coming weeks we will see it push higher towards 270, possibly higher. Also, the UK 10-year seems to stabilize around 460 here, and if it starts moving back above the 470, 471, then we should expect the uptrend to resume. There's positive sentiment, no RSI divergence, indicating likely higher levels. Moving on to finally crypto and Bitcoin. It is in a bullish trend with higher highs, but it is, I mean, it's not convincing really. So it can still suddenly make a correction down to the 90, 92 level once again. If it takes out the peak here at at just below 109,358, well, then we could see it as it's taking off. Ethereum, on the other hand, is still not much. There's not much conviction here. We can see the 55 moving average is kind of locking it in and down to around the 3,000 level. It really needs to move back above that level and close above that level for any meaningful uptrend. But maybe Bitcoin, if it starts moving higher again, could pull it higher towards the 4,000. But let's see. It's still will stay on the sideline at the moment. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and a nice weekend when you get to there. Talk to you.